webinars coming up, just so you are aware. We have one at 2 o'clock tomorrow on getting fit and staying active during COVID-19. That's 2 o'clock. We're going to send out an ad and a link to that today. And we have one coming up on Friday about mental health, kind of keeping your mental health healthy during this time as well. So today, our business panel is being led by Doug Sperling of Sperling Fitness. And Doug is going to be kind of taking questions, but going through his kind of plans and what he's done in the last month, along with 3 other business people. And that's Danielle Sharp of The Blue, and Chris Clough from Duffy's. And actually, Ashley Paget was not able to make it. She had something come up at the last minute, but Cindy Smith of Smith Realty and CA Smith Photography is with us to fill in. We appreciate that, Cindy. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Doug. I'm going to ask everyone to keep themselves muted, but if you have questions of any kind, please put them in the chat feature so that Doug or I can ask those at the end, and I'm sure at the end there'll be more questions. So take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. First of all, thanks everybody for spending noontime with us. I'm going to keep things a little bit structured in the beginning as far as kind of share a little bit insight into what we're doing with our business and what we're kind of seeing at large, but then obviously kind of pass the baton to Chris and Cindy and Danielle, who will also add kind of other industry strategies that they're using. And that will hopefully take about 20-30 minutes. And then the second half of the time frame we'll use for just open Q&A. So we've had some questions come in already, and we'll get to those. But of course, anybody that has questions as they come up. I don't have a slideshow, so don't think this is going to be moving on you. I'm just sharing my screen so that it has something for the recording. So first, before I even talk about us and Sperling Fitness and what we're doing, I think, I made a couple notes here just in general. One is nobody has all of this figured out. And I think that's important as we think of innovation and as we think of strategy to try to navigate all this. This is completely unprecedented times. Nobody in our lifetime has seen anything like this. So none of us have it completely figured out. I think you have to kind of challenge yourself and stretch yourself and definitely think outside the box. But for me or any of the other businesses or really anybody to think that we have it all figured out, I mean, as you know, it's slowing down a little bit as far as how much is changing daily, but still things are changing daily. And so nobody has it all figured out. Overarching, I think in your business now more so than ever is the best time to be a leader and to have a growth mindset, to have a positive mindset. If you have a team, to be an incredible leader for your team, to be super positive about it. And I would say, I mean, you've seen what the Chamber's doing in the Facebook group and their messaging. I mean, really just trying to carve, and I'll go through specific strategies in a little while, but carve yourself as a leader in this community. Carve yourself as a kind of a trusted resource. And also knowing that you're going to have to get creative, and what got you in your business to where you are today might have to and most likely will look different as far as what you've done, what habits you've built, the strategies you've used. All of that is most likely going to have to, I want to say change completely, but it's definitely going to have to modify. And so having an open mind, I think, is very important as we go through some of these strategies and as you just think about your individual business. A lot of the ways that you've been growing your business over the last couple of years, decades, however long you've been in business, that might have to drastically change with this kind of new era. So I just wanted to kind of start with those 3 to 4 quick things. No one has it all figured out. Try to be a leader, try to stay positive for your team, become, and I have some strategies that I'll go through, become a trusted resource. I think the Chamber's done a very nice job at becoming a trusted resource, and you can be the same thing for your industry. right? You can be the same thing where people go to you for not so much relevant information to, you know, the pandemic, but just a trusted resource in your industry. I think Chris is doing a nice job with Paper Trails. He's, you know, kind of covering, he did the webinar covering the HR side of it. He's becoming a very much a trusted resource for that. So you can really step up and become that trusted resource. And then, you know, again, to recap, you are going to have to, I think a lot of us are going to have to change some habits that we've had as far as how we've run our business and how we've tried to grow and strategize over the years. It might have to look a lot different. So for those that aren't familiar with Sperling Fitness, we are a 350 some odd client personal training gym, meaning we work with every single client every single day. They are not allowed to come in on their own. We have a team of 6 coaches, 5 full-time, 1 part-time, and they work with a coach at every single workout. So we have a very personal relationship with all of our clients because they're working with a coach at every single workout. So what we've done is we've taken our experience, and that's the way I try to think about it, our experience, and made it 100% virtual. So I do not say that we're closed. I say that we've transitioned online because we have not closed. The outcome that our clients are getting, the results that our clients are getting, the service that we're providing is the same, if not, I would even say better sometimes. It's just we've had to change the platform that we've delivered it on. So instead of walking into the gym, you're clicking a link and stepping into your living room and getting coaching there. But the results, the deliverable, the staffing, all of that has stayed the same. In fact, I would say it's even increased. But we've tried to maintain the same number of sessions that we offer, a lot of the habits that our clients have, and you know, to kind of apply that to you, looking at your customers, a lot of the habits that they have. For example, in our business, they sign up for sessions on an app, and we could have very easily said, you know, just click a link whenever you want, and here are the times, and click a link to hop into a live workout. What we still do is have our clients sign up on the app because we're trying to keep those same habits. So my first kind of, and I'm sure we'll have some questions on this once we go through everybody, but my first thing is looking at your business and how can you take, especially if you're a service business, how can you take your experience and make it 100% virtual? So I know Cindy might speak to the real estate. Real estate's probably one of the better examples of you can still do showings virtually. You can have a face-to-face meeting. Instead of meeting somebody at a house, you might meet them on a platform like this, whether it be GoToMeeting or Zoom or any of the technologies that are out there. But really first, overarching, I would say, is looking at your service, your business at large, and saying, how can I mimic the same strategies virtually? So if people are walking into your store, right? So if people are walking into your store normally, if you're in the retail business, if people are walking into your store, how about, why can't you go on Facebook Live every day and show off 1 or 2 of your products? So for example, if I'm a jeweler, I might do a Facebook Live every day that's showcasing 3 or 4 of my products, or I might do a Facebook Live on how to clean your wedding ring. You can still produce content every single day. You can still get people to, quote, walk in your doors. They're just going to probably, and definitely right now, have to do that virtually. So I know Cindy will speak to the real estate. I think retail, you can kind of do, you know, I follow an antique store, and they've every day just been posting a picture of a different item that they have for sale. Like literally just every day, one picture, one item, just like if I was walking in the store and looking at that item, and every day I watch them, and in the comments, somebody's buying that product, and they coordinate curbside pickup and all that stuff. So you still have the ability to give your user experience or your client experience or your customer experience largely, for most of us, the same. You just have to wrap your head around that it's going, the way you deliver that experience is going to be different because most likely people are not walking in your doors right now. The other thing that we're doing that I would say is working really, really well, and this is mostly applicable to the service industry, is one-on-one calls with every single one of your clients. Yes, it's a lot of work, and yes, it's not super innovative, but it's by far the most impactful thing we've done for client retention is one-to-one calls with every single client. because now more than ever, you know, a month ago or 2 months ago, nobody was answering their phones, right? Nobody was, everybody, you know, you'd call and go to voicemail. Now most people, unless they're business owners, they have time to answer their phones, right? And so we're seeing a massive engagement with one-to-one calls with all of our clients. So if you're, you know, I'm thinking any service, obviously, you know, you have real estate, you have all your professional services, if you have a client base of any sorts, regardless of the industry, I would be prioritizing one-to-one calls with all of them. I know it's a lot of work. We've had to call 350 some odd people, and we do it every 2 weeks for everybody. And we're seeing about a 60 to 65% answer rate, which is, if you know anything about calling people, that's unheard of. And granted, we have a relationship with these people, so it's not cold calling, but those conversations are very, very powerful, and it will go a long way. The other thing that we're doing specifically, and you can, this is all public so you can see it, is drastically increasing our social media presence. And I think the Chamber's doing a nice job at it as well. And a lot of businesses I'm seeing are, if you weren't on social media before, if you weren't, and I know they did a webinar specifically on social media, if you weren't on social media before, you might be able to skate by. But now, especially if you're retail, social media is probably, outside of email, one of, if not the best ways to stay in front of your customers or clients. So every day we're on social media, and it's a combination of becoming that trusted resource. So for us, it would be, you know, fitness, nutrition, wellness, etc. But becoming that trusted resource, but also showing off your quote new service. So for example, if you are, you know, I'll use Cindy with real estate. If you're a realtor, there's no you know, downside to going on Facebook Live and doing like an open house, right? You can host an open house on Facebook Live, and it's that increased daily presence. You're not going to like this, but most of the social media quote gurus out there are saying 3 to 5 times a day on social media. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have that kind of time. My goal is at least once or twice a day, show up on social media, and whether you have a staff member do it or not. But everybody, if they're at home right now, and whether it's because they're not working or they're working from home, or, you know, they're homeschooling their kids or whatever, the time that people are spending on social media is insane right now. So the more you can become a trusted resource on social media, show off your new service. And I say new service, meaning what does your kind of 2.0 version of your business look like with this kind of new world? And then make people laugh. I think we're all can be in the infotainment business. I got that word from one of my coaches, Kim. She is awesome at infotainment, which means you provide entertainment, a combination of entertainment, make people laugh while also giving them information. So she's done like goofy cooking shows where she dresses up as, like, you know, the Muppets and does a cooking show. And so you're getting a cool recipe, you're seeing cooking, but you're also laughing your tail off. So, you know, some industries are a little bit easier than others to do that. But the more right now, you know, I always say there's plenty of negativity going around. So I see it as my job to spread the positivity. And so whether that's positive mindset, becoming that trusted resource, or making people laugh. And then lastly, on social media, I do think you can delicately present offers. I think we're past the point, in my opinion, where you don't need to be as afraid to present offers. And what I mean by that is ask people to take action, whether it be spending money or opting into something. You know, in the beginning, it was a little bit, okay, we don't want to, you know, push too hard. I try to think of, if it's helpful with offers online. Offers, what I mean by that is either asking somebody to purchase something or something like that. I try to think of a 3-to-1 ratio. So I'm going to provide 3 really, really valuable posts on my social media, tips, videos, content, that infotainment, become that trusted resource. 3 of those for every 1 time I ask you to do something that benefits my business, i.e. purchase something or something like that. And then lastly, with social media for us, some of you know we do a ton of social media advertising, and our ad costs are down about 80%, which is insane. So if you do any type of social media ads, I would tell you that if you have the cash, and some of you track this, if you do track this, if you are paying for social media, your ad costs, so things like, for a lot, I won't go in too deep of it, but a lot of you pay per click on social media. And so, for example, for us to get a click onto an ad used to be $2 to $3 per click, and it's now like 30-40 cents a click. It's crazy because not a lot of businesses are on social media paying for advertising. So I know it's not for everybody, but if you do have the ability to do any type of ads on social media, the opportunity it was like when it first came out in 2016, the ad costs were very, very low back then, and they've escalated as the landscape has gotten more crowded, but ad costs are very, very affordable. Before I pass it off to the rest of the panel, the last couple things I wanted to hit on that we're doing specifically that's working is, and I saw there was, I don't remember which restaurant, but I saw there was a restaurant that did this that I think is great, which is the idea of bonds or gift cards at a reduced rate. I like the word bonds better because it's actually relevant to kind of the market and what things are going on. People, it's got some relevancy, but basically the idea of taking your service. We know right now that cash is important, and we can gladly, especially if we're in the service, but this would work just as well in the product or retail businesses as well. But a bond, basically, we call ours fitness bonds. I saw, a restaurant did it as a bond. Basically what it is you buy a gift card for a set amount, and it's worth more when you redeem it in the future, because we know for a lot of our businesses, consumers might not be comfortable redeeming a service. So for example, with that restaurant, I don't remember the specific numbers, but just to use an example, you could buy a $75 gift card. It costs you $75, but when you go to redeem it this summer or fall, it's worth $100 at the restaurant. So, it's the idea of the bond maturity is where the name came from. The one piece of advice I would have with gift cards and bonds and all of those things is the technology is out there, and I'm happy to help anybody that doesn't have the knowledge on how to do this. The technology is super easy to buy gift cards online. It is like you should be able to buy a gift card on your website with like 3 clicks. And as much as people have a lot of time, humans are still lazy, and we want things fast, and we want convenience. We don't want barriers. So if you're trying to sell something online right now, whether it be a gift card or a bond, I would highly encourage you to set up a technology or software where you have the ability to make that purchase online. Just because, again, I know there's plenty of places that they're calling in and selling gift cards, and that's fine. But you generally, the more steps that a consumer has to take, there's always a drop off at every step. So if I have to click 5 times to do something and I can make that 3 times, then there's going to be a higher opt-in rate. If I have to call instead of clicking a button on my phone and just buying it on my phone, then there's going to be a drop off as far as percentage of people that buy those. So looking at how can you make those easily available. And then my last 2 things here would be, and I'm not sure how many of you do this, and how I know it's very big in our industry specifically, but it's what we call list building, which is growing your email list. In my opinion, one of the most valuable things in any of our businesses we can have is somebody's email if we use it appropriately. I'm not talking spam and just blast them, but a lot of you know that get my email. I email every single day, Monday through Friday at noontime. I deliver value. We also sell 90% of our business through that email list. Because people form a relationship, and I'm able to speak with them on a daily basis. A lot of you get the chamber email every week. The chamber has created a rhythm of expecting an email at a certain frequency at a certain time. And so there's always a cost to acquire emails. Meaning, you might, for example, a lot of you might have seen our ad where we're giving away some at-home workouts, and all you have to do is enter your email address to get those at-home workouts. We do that as a strategy to give value and to give people something if they're not ready to purchase from us, but we also collect their email address. So now we can keep a relationship, we can keep conversation going with them. So maybe in the fall, when they're ready to join the gym, they think of us. So list building is an awesome strategy, and I can dig into that if you have questions. I could do a whole hour just on list building. And then my last thing, and I'll go to Chris with what they're doing, is if you have the ability to, in our industry, we call it the FEO. It stands for front end offer, FEO, front end offer. And it's basically it's a test drive. It's try before you buy. It's the car industry is great at this, right? You want to buy a car, you're not going to go drop $30,000 on a car, you're going to test drive it first. The real estate industry's version of that might be a home evaluation or an open house or something like that. Every industry has an FEO, and those are more important than ever now because the consumer is still a little bit gun shy on purchasing things, especially if they're not familiar with you. So, and especially if for us, for example, we're giving people 7 days free to try our virtual fitness experience because especially locally here, people are not used to experiencing fitness virtually. So we have found that we can't just get somebody to purchase an online membership. They need to try it for 7 days. And then at the end of the 7 days, if they like it, then we can have a conversation about continuing on with the membership. But every industry has their version of the whole try before you buy. And so that would be kind of the last piece that we're doing. So that's a little bit or a lot about what we're doing. And I'll keep my mouth zipped here for a few minutes. And Chris, if you want to unmute yourself and share what you guys are doing.
Sure. So I wear a couple of hats here, and we'll talk about a little bit of both of those. So my business is Paper Trails. We're a payroll and bookkeeping company here in town, and then my father owns Duffy's, so we do a lot of. I'm heavily involved in some of that stuff. So from the restaurant perspective, we really looked at it a lot like what Doug's talked about, is just trying to stay engaged with our customers. I mean, we are offering takeout services, we're selling gift cards online, but we really wanted to stay engaged and keep some of those rhythms and routines up. So one of the things that we've done is we've kept trivia night on Thursday night. We've just gone to Facebook Live, and that's actually worked tremendously. The first week, I think we had about 165 teams. Now, if you think about a normal week in the restaurant, you're running 15 to 20 teams, to go to 165 teams, let's just say we had a scoring issue. It took us a long time to get those scores, straightened away. We had folks from all over town. We had folks from Sweden and the UK saying, commenting that they were playing and enjoying that. And that was really great. We partnered with our trivia company to do that. We've seen that level out the last couple of weeks. Last week, I think we were about 65 teams, but still is great exposure for us. If you figure there's 3-4 people on those teams, you're seeing 250-ish people a week that are getting exposed to us on that. We certainly have seen some takeout sales driven by that. We're seeing our regular teams playing from home, coming in to get takeout before, and then, playing from home afterwards. And that's been really successful for us. So just this past weekend, we did, Easter takeout, for family style stuff. That's worked really well. We used to, with the restaurant in Old Orchard, we would usually do about 600 meals through the buffet. About 450 meals in the 2 restaurants online. So we were able to capture some of that business and not lose one of our busiest days of the year. So that was really, key for us as well. We've always been really into the technology, so that's always was really good for us. We didn't have to adapt too much when this happened. We've always had online ordering. We've always had online gift cards. We've always had a pretty good Facebook presence, good email list, and so forth. So it's been easy to adapt to those kind of changes in our world. We're continuing to do that. We actually had the restaurant Old Orchard closed. This week we saw a huge spike in takeout in the Kennebunk restaurant. I think people are finally at a point where they're out of groceries from their first $500 grocery shop a few weeks ago. Either that or they're sick and tired of cooking. So we've seen a big uptick in takeout this week in Kennebunk, and next week we're going to try again in Old Orchard to see if we can do that. So it's adapting and changing. We're posting menus as we're adjusting those, online, putting them through all of our channels, whether it's Facebook, email, website. We're making sure everything's consistent and updated. I know Elena mentioned last week on our social media webinar, make sure your Google listing is up to date. because people are checking for hours and information on there. So that's on my checklist now. Yep, okay. So when we post the menus, we post them Facebook, email, website, Google. So trying to keep track of all the different channels that people are looking at. And three towns. I've seen a lot of questions, the same questions over and over on three towns. I know Laura's a little frustrated with that for sure. People asking the same questions over and over and over and over and over. But it certainly has been a good resource for folks to get information out from a business perspective. So, switching to my paper trails hat, we're a payroll bookkeeping company, and we are still fortunately open and in business. And I have some staff working from home. I have some staff still in the office. We're still at 100% here. We've looked at this as an opportunity to really retain our clients. I think it's the best client retention tool we've had in a long time, to be honest with you, because we're taking the time, just like Doug has said, to call our clients and have those conversations with them about all the changes. I mean, I'm pumping out content almost on a daily basis of what's changing in the market. We went from, okay, what do I do? How do I shut down? How do I apply for unemployment? To what are the FFCRA tax credits, sick pay, to what's the PPP loan? How do I apply? Okay, I got my PPP money. What do I do with it? That's today's question. So we're kind of switching gears every day and trying to stay on top of that. And, my team's been, really great. I've been trying to communicate with everybody to say, look, this is what's happening today. And we've spent countless hours on the phone with clients, counseling them in addition to the content that we're pushing out. I'll be honest, I've not been really great with some of the social media stuff from a paper trails perspective in the past, but now when I pump those emails out, not only do they go to all of our clients, we have a list of about 150 COIs or centers of influence that are that have referred us business or are partners of our clients. Things like accountants and attorneys and investment advisors, insurance agents, people that are within our sphere. Those emails are also sent out to them as well, so that we look like the industry expert. We've actually had 3 or 4 new leads come in the last week or so from people that want to get switched over because we've been pushing out this content. So we're seeing some upward movement just in the fact that we've been this trusted advisor. So when we send that information out, we send it out, it goes out to our email list for our clients. I post it on our blog. I post it on our Facebook. I post it on our LinkedIn. I'm usually sharing it into 3 towns or somewhere else to make sure that we're getting it across all spectrums. So, like Doug said, it's a lot of work. I leave the office every afternoon for the last 3 weeks, and my brain is just on meltdown because I've literally spent the day on the phone counseling clients. And I think, all of my employees are saying the same thing. It's like, we're kind of getting burnt out. But, now more than ever, our clients need us. Fortunately, we have an ongoing subscription service similar to kind of what Doug does in his business. And, we don't nickel and dime our clients. And, I've seen a lot of my peers in the industry that are taking this opportunity to kind of cash in. We're going to kind of do some billing in some areas for some of the PPP tracking, because that's a significant amount of work. But for the most part, when you get to call and talk to us, or you need reports to apply for your PPP loan, we're not billing for that. We're using that as a client retention tool to make sure that this is why you have us. Keep in mind, about 30% of my clients are closed right now, not running payrolls. So my revenue is down because people aren't running payrolls, but we're still talking to them. We're still treating them as if they're clients. We're still being compassionate towards them, helping them with whatever they need. And I think, again, now more than ever, our clients need us. So it's definitely, a team approach from that perspective. So that's kind of an overview, a couple of things that we've been doing to think out of the box. And Doug, I don't know if you have anything else you want me to talk about, or.
No, Chris, I think that was good. I think, what I heard there was, if you have the ability to, playing the long game, right? So Chris is focused on retention and the client relationships and a lot of the content that he's putting out. We talk a lot in business about TOMA, top of mind awareness, and top of mind awareness says, I don't know when a client or customer is going to be ready for my service and my business. But when they are ready, I want them to think of me. So if I'm a business, I might not think of payroll or bookkeeping right this second, but potentially when I do need to switch, or when I do realize I shouldn't be running it myself or doing anything myself and I can delegate it out, then maybe Chris's business is top of mind because of what he did and kind of playing that long game as far as content strategy and things like that. So a lot of us, you know, if you have the ability to play the long game, you can put in a lot of sweat equity now that, you know, financially you might not see the benefit tomorrow, but you know, there's a lot of talk in the fitness industry that September, October is going to be the January, February of what all of you know is like New Year's resolutions, because we've all been cooped up in our houses and we're probably not, you know, eating the healthiest because takeout and things like that. So fitness, and plus you've been cooped up, you want to move. And so September, October. So I'm kind of playing it like, okay, how can we put in the sweat equity now so that we have an amazing fall? Not so much, and you tweak that for those listening, tweak that for your business. You know, obviously everybody's time frame is different, but I think, Chris, to your point, a lot of it is the retention of your current existing customers, and I would say they're, you know, to speak on Duffy's front, because I know we have some restaurants and stuff listening in, just really great at not just, you know, it's the fitness version for us is not just hosting workouts. We don't want to just be the place that hosts workouts, because you can get workouts anywhere. Just like Duffy's is doing a nice job at, yeah, they do take out, but they're also doing a great job at that infotainment with the trivia night. They're on social media. So you can find other avenues to not just be the thing. And how do you kind of talk about innovation? How do you kind of separate yourself from the pack and not just be like the rest of them? So, no, I think that was good. Danielle, do you want to chime in next about what you guys are doing down at the Blue? Hit that red little mic. Is she off? No talking? Well, she's figuring that out. Why don't we go, Cindy? If you want to unmute yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I'm unmuted here. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
You can. Okay, great. So the biggest thing you can think about during this time is you can't control what's going on around you. You can't control what is being told to you as far as closing, opening, but you can control your attitude and your effort during this time. So we have been doing the things Doug said. We have been doing FaceTime with clients who are out of state, who can't travel, who still are interested in homes. We have been doing virtual open houses. We've been doing all those things. But in addition, I have been spending a tremendous amount of time with past clients. And one thing that I think I'm really excited about is I've never really had time to reach out and ask for people to review me. 90% of my business is referral. So I haven't had to rely on the online so much in the past. And I've always wanted to beef that up. This is the perfect opportunity to reach out to people and ask them to do reviews. And I've already gotten 6 this week. So that has been very helpful. And the other thing that I'm doing, which I think a lot of other businesses could do or research or look into, and I know Doug has already done this, but I'm starting a podcast and I'm interviewing a lender on Friday to just give information out to the public about what the interest rates are doing. Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? What the immediate future looks like in the real estate market. So luckily, my daughter has just returned from the West Coast and she has the podcast equipment and can be my podcast engineer. So I'm fortunate in that way. But there are lots of ways, as Doug was saying, to get yourself out there just with your phone and doing FaceTime Live, like he said. I haven't done it, but I'm going to. So I've spent a tremendous amount of time investing in my business with my time during the slow time. And I think, as he said, it's the long game and it's going to hopefully pay off. One thing we've done with the photography business is we did our website, which was sadly dated, but that's something that never has the time. We never have the time or the attention. And where he hasn't had any photography work in a month, that really was a huge accomplishment and is going to, in the long run, gain us a lot more business. So I guess that those are a few things I would suggest doing.
Awesome. Danielle, are we good with Danielle, or is she still unmuted, or is she still muted? No mic.
I mean, Danielle is unmuted. I just don't know.
We'll have to pass her.
Yeah, Danielle, yeah, call in.
She might need to authorize her account on Windows platform. Make sure it allows it to use it.
Well, why don't we, if we're waiting on Danielle, I know there's a few questions that came in earlier, but if anybody wants to unmute themselves and maybe ask specifically to your industry, and I certainly don't have all the answers, so if I have some 2 cents, I will. If not, somebody else might here on the call. There's 19 of us on, so somebody else might have some insight as well. But if you have a question, I'll pause here for questions, and then if not, we'll get to a couple that we had come in earlier. I'm a huge fan of awkward silence, so I'll let this thing go like 3 minutes before there's questions, because I know you all have them. You're just afraid to ask them.
Hey, Doug, this is Jeff Bennett, Smart Home. How you doing?
Jeff, man, how are you?
Good, good. I guess I could turn my camera on. I don't want to be that crazy guy, but I am going with the beard right now, trying to, the coronavirus hashtag, grow it out.
Nice.
But some of the things that we're trying to do right now is, we can't go on into clients' houses right now, especially if they're living there. But we are there for virtual support. So we are doing FaceTime calls and directing them to their network to be able to help them out with that stuff, which is a little different for us because the client's now becoming the technician a little bit. So that's a little bit of change for us. And that's difficult to do because they're used to us being able to be there when they call and such. And we're not, obviously our business is slowed because we're not able to get into people's houses to install new stuff, which is also difficult from a business standpoint. So we're trying to focus on our businesses, the stuff that we just haven't had time to do. We all get busy in regular days that we just, policies, procedures, trying to get our email list up to date because we haven't done it in 4 or 5 months of new clients that we've added. Just kind of doing those everyday things that we just don't find time to do in our everyday life because we're all busy. So I think that's what we're trying to do mostly. And also I found that I'm kind of like my tactic from a leadership standpoint is kind of like not micromanaging my team, that I don't always communicate with them every single day. But we were doing a call once a week, and then I found that from my team standpoint that they were looking for a little bit more everyday guidance and just that reassuring them of where business was at, where like I've been very communicative about the PPP loan to my employees on where I'm at in that stage and what that means to them and what my expectations are of them once we have that loan, to be able to obviously maintain business for those next 8 weeks and allow them to know that I'm not planning on putting anybody on unemployment. I'm trying to keep them working in whatever capacity that is. Either in the office right now, we've been doing a lot of stuff on our showroom and trying to build that space out more because we haven't had the time to do it. So now I'm getting the guys that are in there, 3, 4 guys working on all the technology, getting it all up and running so that once we get done, we're able to then move into our space and start doing lunch and learns there and bringing people in from out of our architects, designers, homeowners, and hopefully people back into visiting sites again versus everything virtual. And then I think that communication every day. So we just started today, was our first day of just doing a call every day, 15, 20 minutes, just enough to touch base with your team. So even if you have laid people off, or if people are unemployed or furloughed, I think keeping them in the loop of where business is at and where your head's at, I think is important, even though you're not touching base with them every day. I think, or like seeing them every day at work. I think just reaching out to them, because those people are sitting there unemployed, waiting to know what's going on with their boss and what's the expectations, or what are they thinking. So I think just maintaining your relationships also with your internal people is just as important as maintaining it with your clients as well, because I think that's ultimately your team and your part of your business for any of us, and they're the ones that count the most, and keeping them in a healthy mind, and knowing that, we're going to be okay, and we're going to see you if you're a restaurant, we're going to see you in a few months, hopefully, and we'll get things back opened up, and we'll, hire you back, just so that they know and feel comfortable that, they do have a job coming at some point for them. So those are just my 2 cents. But I love this. It's great. Thanks a lot for putting it on.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah.
I think we have Danielle now.
Oh, awesome. Maybe.
No.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay! Okay. Yes, I'm really horrible at technology. Anyone want to come help me? I'll be here all day. 6 feet apart, though. Okay, so just a couple things for us. We it was really hard for us to switch to running to curbside only, just because we have built a culture and relationship with our customers that exceed coffee and breakfast sandwiches. That's not really everything that we do here. It's more about the relationships, I think, with a lot of them. So switching gears and no longer engaging them the same way has been difficult for them, and it's been difficult for us. But some of the things that we have been really important is, the first thing was paring down our inventory. It was scary, necessary, and we realized right away we were carrying way too much inventory, and we had to create a different type of menu. So it was a made-to-order menu. We couldn't come in the morning and bake a bunch of muffins, and tried it the first couple days. It was very unsuccessful. We realized those things are more of a impulse item. So we pared down our inventory, pared down our menu, created a new made-to-order menu. Coffee's wonderful, and it is really straightforward, but we all of a sudden realized we had a great social media following, but we were not good at social media. So we had to make some huge changes there, very uncomfortable changes that, push you out of your comfort zone, especially for me. But, something that we knew we had to do in order to continue to grow and, to survive, for sure. And we found that pictures were one of the most important things to put out with, with your postings on social media, because if people see it, then they're more apt to buy it. We started attaching a lot more pictures, and we did feel that boost in sales. But, honestly, our sales are a quarter of what they were. And, we're just trying to survive just like everybody else. But I think, some of the important things that we're doing is we're being open and honest about what our COVID-19 health policies are, what we are willing to do and what we're not willing to do. We've, dealt with some upset customers because they can't actually come into our space and order, and that's just part of it. You have to give that pushback and tell them, this is how I'm keeping you safe. This is how I'm keeping you safe. This is how I'm keeping us safe. This is how we are able to stay open. And that, that was a huge thing for us. That was hard. It was really hard. But I think also one thing that has been huge for us is realizing the community that we live in and how much they love small businesses. They love their community businesses. They love their community. And I think as a business owner, we also have to put out how we can help other businesses, because that's some of the things out. Like, yes, we're doing this to stay relevant and stay in everyone's mind's eye, but how can we help other businesses so that they stay viable? We've paired with Texas Grace because they have a little one and their daycare has closed. They can't be open during the day, and so how do we make it so that they don't fall off the map and we don't fall off the map? So I think that part is something that we, as community members and as business owners, we have to think about is, not only keeping ourselves up and running, but how we can promote other businesses to keep them up and running, or at least, on people's minds, so that, they don't lose their businesses either. I mean, even our greatest competition breeds greatness, right? Because if you're competing with somebody else, you're going to keep putting out a great product, and that's important. So even your competitors, you want to make sure that they stay in business. I think that's really important. So, and that's all I have.
Awesome. I'm not sure if you can see the chat, Danielle, but I've been following you. So Cindy had asked to chat about, and I can, maybe if you want to speak more about it, you can, but the whole pay it forward that you're doing, where different businesses or different people are coming in and basically buying a certain amount of coffees for everybody that everybody forward that day. The whole pay it forward, I think, is it's a win-win, because it's good exposure and it's also obviously a good giving thing. So that is super cool. The one and we'll open up to questions here again in a minute, and I know y'all have them, so speak up. The one couple things I heard from Danielle and I wanted to also hopefully Jeff's still on the call. Anytime, right, especially right now in 2020, and I would say this was a trend before even the current pandemic, anytime you can make something experience-based, if you look at business at large, a lot of the businesses that are, quote, winning are experience-based businesses. The consumer wants an experience. They don't just want a transaction. They want an experience. And what I mean by that is, what Jeff's doing down at Smart Home, where he's creating, in theory, his business is technicians and inventory. He doesn't need to create a showroom, but I personally would advise him to go all in on that showroom and create a destination where I can come in and I can hang out and I can hear my speakers, I can see the technologies, I can see the TVs, I can consult with a professional. That service is becoming not that service, that level of service, that experience. Or Danielle at the Blue, something that popped into my head was, as a customer of yours, I know a lot of it is the people that not just buy the coffee, but they hang out, and that whole coffee house, kind of the big comfy chairs and the hangout. Well, the nice thing about technology is you can still do that right now. So I would encourage any of your businesses where you have the ability, I know the Chamber's doing it, I believe next week, with a virtual happy hour. We'll see how that goes. But or after hours, not happy hour, after hours. But Danielle, you could totally do a happy hour, virtual happy hour. You could do a morning coffee hangout. You can use a platform like this or Zoom, where people, you know, it's kind of like what Chris is doing at Duffy's, where people are ordering takeout and then going home to do trivia. A lot of the businesses, you can create that virtual experience where maybe they grab coffee, you know, takeout style, and then you have a time, like, you know, pick your peak time, like 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that, where you just create, like we do it, we call it Coffee with Coach, where it's literally one of our coaches is on a platform like this, and they're just sitting there drinking their morning coffee and just talking shop. I mein, nothing to do with fitness oftentimes for us. So it's just hanging out and talking and keeping that community. I will reemphasize, I think the overarching with this whole innovate, think outside the box is there are very few services, businesses that cannot deliver the same or at least very similar service or product or what have you, even with the limitation of not being able to walk inside your door. So I can still, is it going to be as good? No, it's just like at the gym. It's like the community is not going to be as good as seeing you and hugging you and high-fiving you in the gym. But like we every Tuesday and Thursday night right now, we're doing a bingo night for our clients. We do fireside chats. We do happy hours where they're literally just like hanging out, drinking a glass of wine and catching up with their friends that they used to work out with. So a lot of your community, a lot of your businesses are built off of the awesome community we all have here. And just challenge yourself. I know for a lot of you that aren't comfortable on video or aren't comfortable with technology, but you can create a lot of that same experience virtually, and just realize that the method at which you deliver things might be different right now, but the outcome is largely, I don't want to say the same because it's definitely not the same, but it's a close second for sure. What other, any questions before I chat about a few that were sent to me?
Doug, I have actually one more thing for people, if they are paring down their menus, and know a lot of distributors they're not giving a lot of pushback if you're not ordering the volume that you used to order. But there are also, you know, they'll also work with you so that if you are ordering a smaller amount, you can order with another company in your town, and you know they will work with you to get the stuff to you. So just an FYI, because I know that, I mean, some of the businesses are big and they're used to ordering these high volume, and you know maybe part of the reason that they shut down was because they knew that they couldn't carry those big orders anymore. So just food for thought.
Yeah, a lot of your, I did a post on this to the gym owners that I consult for the other day, where a lot of our sweat equity that we've put in over the years in relationship building, where you know how you do these things and you're like, I don't know if this is worth it. I've like invested so much time, and you do these things for free, or you give up your time to do all this stuff, whether it be in building relationships or all that stuff. I think a lot of that is paying off now. You know, use the example of vendor relationships. You know, we use towels at our gym. You know, legally, I had signed a 3-year contract with them for towels. We spend, I think, $800 a month or something on towels. But they, no problem, no questions asked, because we've been good to them, and I think because I've been kind to them over the years and been nice to the delivery people that pick up and drop off and all that stuff. No problem. They just froze our towels because we're not using towels right now. Versus if I in the past didn't really have a relationship with them, they might have been very transactional and said, nope, sorry, you had a 3-year contract, we got to keep billing you weekly. Either way, I think a lot of your relationships that you've built, whether it be with vendors or just people that can help you out right now, it's amazing what they'll you know, we all want to kind of help each other out, right? So they're in the same boat. Another example is we are working on it's a little bit of a secret, so don't tell anybody. We're working on a renovation at the gym right now, And while we're closed, we're kind of to Jeff's point, we're taking advantage of not having clients in there. And the flooring company, I was nervous. I said, I'm nervous to do this because, you know, just like a lot of you, you know, our income's dropping. And he was pretty much like, Doug, you've been a customer of mine. I mean, he did my original floors 9 years ago, and he's done 3 or 4 iterations of it. And he's like, Doug, you've been a customer of mine for 9 years. Whenever you want to pay this, just pay it in installments, pay it whenever you want. Like, we'll start the job, we'll get it done this week. Whatever you want to pay it, you pay it. And granted, every business doesn't have the ability to say that. But if I was just like a cold caller, like, hey, I need some flooring done, there's no way they would have done that. So I think you can, you know, I know that's not innovative per se, but I think you can certainly, you know, optimize those relationships. I also wanted to go back to, I don't know how many of you on here have teams, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing right now, depending upon your business. But I firmly believe if your vision is big enough, you need a really awesome team. And to Jeff's point, you know, I consider my team to be everything. There's a lot of great freedoms and flexibilities that I have now because of our amazing team. And we certainly would not be here without any of them. And so the question begs, you know, how do you get buy-in from your team? And and I think a lot of what Jeff was saying, we do a daily huddle as a team every morning at 10 o'clock via Zoom. We use the Zoom platform. Every morning we do a daily huddle, and it's quick, it's 20, 30 minutes. And we just chat about how the morning, I mean, we're running sessions from 5:30 in the morning till 7 o'clock at night right now. So we have to kind of cover the gamut. We don't have a traditional hourly operation. But, you know, a lot of that huddle is, hey, how'd the morning go? Any issues? How's everybody doing? All of them are working from home. So it's, you know, what are you working on? To Jeff's point, that balance of, you know, they're still being paid. So I want them working and they're willing to work. But a lot of them, you know, I have a younger team. So a lot of them don't even have I don't want to say the discipline, but they've never worked from home before. You know, this oftentimes for a lot of my team, it's their first or second job out of college. And the fitness industry is used to, you know, long hours and just in the gym all day, and you're on your feet and they can work their tail off, but now you stick them in front of a computer and they don't know what to do. So creating structure around their days, helping them create structure. I think you can lead your team from afar. You know, I consult for a bunch of gym owners. I see them like once or twice a year, but I still am able to help them drastically because of platforms like this. So leading for your team, whether it be a daily huddle, if your team is smaller, you might do, you know, once or twice a week where you do a huddle. We call it huddle. We stole it from the nursing industry where they did a huddle at the change of shift. That's kind of a great, easy way, the same time every single day. That way it's on the schedule. Everybody knows about it. And buy-in, for me, I don't know, this answer might be hard to kind of quantify, but for me, I'm very open about the vision of our company and very open about where we're going, why we exist, why did I start this thing? And what are we trying to do? Like, we got this awesome machine, and what are we trying to do with this thing? It's not just a gym, just like it's not just a coffee shop, just like it's not just like a restaurant. What are you really trying to do? Where are we going? Why do we exist? And I know it's a little bit fluffy of an answer, but I communicate that to our team, I don't want to say daily, but on a regular basis. And so now more than ever, I'm just communicating to them. Their buy-in is that they know our vision. This is where we're going. This is where we want to be 3 to 5 years from now. And so this thing better not derail us. It's gonna have us do some twists and turns, but it's not gonna derail us. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep pushing forward. There's gonna be bumps. I told the team, I've told them almost every day, there's gonna be days of frustration. We've had multiple team huddles of tears. There's gonna be all those emotions. But I think more so than ever, you can be a little bit vulnerable, but also be clear with communication to your team as far as where you're going. And to Jeff's point, kind of, you know, daily updates on how the business is doing. I think that goes a long way, especially if you have a really good team, because they will bend over backwards for you if they're bought into the vision of the company. So I think to answer that kind of question, how do you get buy-in from your staff? Daily communication, strong leadership, and really emphasize why you're doing this and where you're going. Another question, you know, how do you come up with ideas / find ideas, and can you copy from another business? copy might not be the word. I would say, in my opinion, business is business. And what I mean by that is, I can take any business strategy. I don't say any, but 90% of business strategy can be applied to any industry, right? So you can take what I'm doing with fitness bonds and do that same thing for your restaurant, for your coffee shop, for your jewelry business. I'm looking at for your storage. So for the storage business, if you're still listening in, you could do no payments until September 1, right? So future in the storage business, it's a similar business model to mine. It's reoccurring revenue, right? And so I don't want to speak for you, and you can certainly speak up, but in the storage business at large, it's all about the monthly recurring revenue, keeping it full, and predicting your future revenue. And so you probably know that people aren't gonna, I mean, there might be some people, but you're probably not gonna be able to get huge investments right now. But you might say, hey, store your stuff and we'll give you the first 3 months free, and then you have to sign I would personally probably make them sign a certain length commitment so they don't just bail at the end of the 3 months. But you might do, I know a gym out west right now that's doing no payments till September 1st. So they got tons of cash and they can handle that. I think that's probably a little bit too aggressive. But you could, in your business, pick a date range where you're comfortable, and you might say no payments until X. That kind of can work really, really well. But my point is, any strategy, any innovation. So the question is, can you copy other businesses? I just study businesses. I try to be a student of business and look at what they're doing and saying, okay, how can I apply this to my industry? How can I apply this to my business? Copying and pasting what they said or what they did is probably, everybody has their unique brand, their unique message, their unique thing that makes them them. And so if you just copy and paste it, that's probably not going to help you. But if you take that and you say, oh, cool, I can do virtual open houses, you can really kind of take almost anything, and I would say tweak it and apply it to your business for sure. So hopefully that was helpful. Any other questions for the 18 of you listening in, 17 of you that aren't on the panel? Or those that are on the panel can certainly chime in too.
Dr. Laura, I have a question, I guess for Chris and Danielle. How do you keep making those adjustments, particularly in a food business or in the financial, sort of the payroll piece, when things are literally changing daily, when people might be questioning why you're even open? How do you make those decisions and change your message kind of on the fly like that?
So I know with me, we talk about, and we've talked about since we opened in 2018, how as soon as you think that you have it down and that you can predict it, it goes the other way. So, and this is just, this is just part of it. And I don't think the scale has really changed. You think what's going to happen. I think with the social media really pushing in areas where you need to push things. Like we had, right after the pandemic, and we started curbside. We actually started curbside early, but when we started it, I had placed this huge order because I didn't have any idea we were going to be shutting down essentially. And I had all this milk, and I pretty much put it out there and just said, look, we have a bunch of milk. We're going to, do a special on lattes and things like that, and kind of trying to drive them into, driving the community kind of where we need them. And the great thing about our community is, we told them we needed to sell milk, and we sold a lot of lattes. So I think that's probably it.
So Chris has lost his audio. He's not sure what happened. So don't think he's just ignoring that question. He just apparently can't answer it. So,
Yeah,
but I think.
Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, I was going to say, Danielle, I think you have been really on top of this from day one. I've really admired how seriously and how carefully you've taken this, and being the beneficiary of some of those free lattes, I really appreciate how that was all handled. So you've taken great care. So I think as much as some people might be freaked out about not coming in, some of us were really impressed with how seriously you took things as far as sanitation went and things like that. So kudos.
Thank you.
And a strategy that Danielle used with that milk is, I will give credit to the man, Dean Jackson. He's a great marketer. If you ever want to follow marketing, Dean Jackson. Dean Jackson has this line that says, "How do you sell a horse? You put a for sale sign on it." And so don't get super crazy with how you sell your stuff. Just tell people it's for sale. So if you got a crap load of milk sitting in your fridge and you need to get rid of it, just hop on Facebook, take a picture of the milk and say, you know, a lot of you know where we're at. We're next to Shellfish Company, right? And there was a line. I called the chamber and said, who do I call? And they said, call the police, because I was doing renovations in the gym and there was a line all the way out down 35 for this shellfish, because they were doing, you know, seafood, because they were doing wholesale. And all they did was take a picture of their menu and stick it on social media. That's all they did. And they had a line, a place that is never customer facing. They're always just wholesale trucks. They had a line a mile long for about 4 hours every day that they were doing that. And so I think that's a great example of, you know, yes, it can be challenging to sell stuff right now, but a lot of times it does not have to be super complicated. For example, I put an email out last week to our list that it went to non-members. So there's a lesson there on segmenting. You should be able to segment your list, your email list, so you have your paying customers and your non-paying customers, because you want to speak to both of them, but you speak to both of them differently. And the list was like, the email to our non-member list was basically, it was like 3 sentences. It was basically like, hey, we've transitioned all of our clients onto online virtual fitness. They're loving it. Would you like to try it for free for 7 days? And we had like 20 some odd replies to that email saying, yeah, sure, I'd love to try it. So it doesn't have to be, only that email took me 2 seconds to write. So it doesn't have to be anything super complicated as far as how to sell. You know, I use that, use the jewelry business, right? You can still give, just like if I were to walk into your store, I can still, innovation for you would be, I can still experience that virtually, whether it's highlighting a picture every day of a piece of jewelry, or a lot of you in your business lends itself to education and that infotainment, so educating people. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. And as Danielle said, it's, for a lot of us, it's getting outside your comfort zone, because how you grew your business pre this was probably a lot different. And you could rely on, long term, you can still, I think, rely, I don't want to say rely, but you can still certainly, count on referrals and kind of the word of mouth strategy that a lot of us lean on. But here's the thing with both of those. I don't want to count my livelihood on somebody potentially talking about Sperling, right? So I try to be aggressive on our marketing. Yes, I love referrals, and yes, word of mouth is great, and those are certainly our top 2. But I don't want to count on those things. My family, my team's family, their livelihood, I don't want to count on the chance that somebody might talk about Sperling over a glass of wine. I would rather put the messages in front of their face, and when they're ready, they're ready. So that certainly takes a little bit of technology as far as innovating. But I mean, what's nice about the current events is everybody's been forced to innovate. So whether you wanted to innovate or not, a lot of us have been forced to innovate, because you've been forced to, like, GoToMeeting or Zoom. A lot of us were never on these platforms before, and now you have to be if you choose to partake in things. So a lot of those barriers that we had as businesses, as far as technology and things like that, I don't want to say they've gone away, but they've certainly diminished, because people have gotten much more comfortable with them.
Doug, I have a quick question for Cindy. Is Cindy still on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
I'm here.
So one question I have is, obviously as a realtor, you're doing a lot of CMAs and things like that. How are you, oh, excuse, my garage door is opening right now. How are you trying to keep that momentum going in regards to people that are thinking about selling when they want to put their house up on the market? I'm sure people had a kind of a 6-month plan, and this has put a wrench in it. What's your approach been in regards to keeping that momentum going?
Well, one of the things I decided to do was like this podcast idea of talking to another professional in the business to give credit to the fact that it's still a good time to buy or sell real estate. And the real estate market is not going to be as affected as a lot of other markets. This is not what happened in 2008 when the banks and the financial institutions crashed. This is a temporary pause on business. So just trying to get the word out that it's still a viable thing to do. And even in those past sort of recessions, real estate still did increase in value. So that's just one of the things I'm doing.
Got it.
I hope that answered your question.
Trying to also differentiate the fact that this isn't 2008. This isn't mortgages going bad, high interest rate, things like that. This is a very different situation, and there is still momentum continuing through.
Exactly. Yep. And there's still a huge inventory shortage for housing here. Like I have a FaceTime walkthrough today with someone from North Carolina who's moving to the area who needs to buy a house here. And there's really not a lot to show them. But they're going to buy something and they're going to buy it virtually.
Do you think this is going to change maybe the approach from a real estate standpoint, walking through a house virtually? Like, is this potentially going to become a new normal?
I don't think so, because it's a very tangible thing and people want to feel the space, touch the space. There's a lot to it, as you know, because you bought a house, so you know what's involved. You have to be able to smell a house. So I don't think so. It's very much an in-person people business.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For a lot of your, I was curious on Cindy's answer on that, because I would agree wholeheartedly. If I was buying my own house, I would want to be in the house, right? Like for my family home, I would never purchase something without going into it. I think for a lot of our industries, it's use the fitness as example. There's a lot of people that are doing online stuff right now, fitness, because they have to, and their personality and their preferences and their just their environment it's a band-aid right now until they can get back into the gym. There's also a lot of people, I firmly believe, with fitness that are never going to walk into a gym again and just realize that virtual coaching is as good. What's interesting is that a lot of that depends on your consumer, your client, your target market, what their personality is, and knowing that. So if you're a realtor for families, I would wholeheartedly agree that they're probably going to still more. If you're a realtor for investors, then potentially there's services all across the country where you can buy houses without walking into them. It's the same thing with like the client that walks into Sperling, and Cindy's a client of ours, so I can say this. The client that walks into Sperling is not the same client that loves online workouts, right? We're doing it because we have to, but knowing your clients, some of us, hybrid with our business, where we create blockings, where we have an online and an offline option. And then a lot of us, depending upon your market that you work with, you'll go back to kind of the offline strategies. There's still a lot of markets that or consumers that make purchases online. So I think a lot of that also depends on your market. Cindy just said in the chat, that's not me. I can't wait. Yeah, I agree. That's what I mean. The client that comes to us, if you look at our market, it's the person that loves the community. They love coaching. But if you literally just cared about the workout and that's all you cared about, there's really probably not that much of a difference between what you can get online. So that would be our business example of knowing the market. And every business has that example where you have the service, but then you all can't see my video, so I'm trying to draw, but you can't with my hands, but you can't see it. But anyways, you have the main service offering, but then underneath that you have different audiences, and some audiences will prefer things online, won't. And so just kind of being it's what happened with e-commerce, right? And the whole online purchasing, right? There's still people that love, and we love those people. They love going into the store and buying things. And those people will buy things online right now because they have to. But as soon as things open back up again, they're going to go back into stores because they love just walking into the stores. And then others that just avoid the stores like the plague and just love the convenience of purchasing online. Those are two different people, though. So I think it's understanding what your kind of market wants exactly, or what your market is. One of you creating a lot of ruckus that's not muted. What other questions do we have for the panel, or anybody else that wants to chime in?
I was just going to come back on to for a minute.
Oh, no, go ahead, Jeff, please.
I was just going to say, I know you guys talked about this. One of the things that was tough to do that we've done recently is kind of double down on our marketing, which is really in this market tough to do, right? So, we hire a company that does all our blogs and our newsletters, and we decided to come out with add another blog every month. So like doing 2 blogs a month versus 1. And it's all industry content stuff. I'm just not that person to write those. So we hire a company to do that. And we're also doing Facebook sponsored stuff once a week. For us, I try not to be, Doug's got a different, clientele as far as how much he hits those people on a daily basis. I think technology wise, people, if I give them information once a week or once a month, sometimes is enough. But we're going to try to kind of get more customer facing more often now. And hopefully when we get through this, they know who gave them the technology, like kind of Doug's mentioned a couple times, like how, you're front in their mind. Chris mentioned the same thing, like share as much information as you can with them. And something I haven't used a lot is LinkedIn. For my business, I've just always just been on there, but I'm going to start doing more posts out to LinkedIn because I have a lot of customers, architects, designers that I want to get in touch with. And I'm not necessarily on Facebook with them, but I'm more on LinkedIn with them. So I'm going to start using that as something. So just those combination of things to try to continue to be in front of people versus just kind of sticking our head in the sand and being all pissed that, this is happening to all of us. We have to kind of, try to rise above it and continue to push ourselves beyond what we would normally do. Or, in my case, adding a significant cost to my overall monthly bills to do this in a time when I'm not, my cash flow is not where it used to be. So that's a difficult thing, but at the same time, I look at it like it's a future paying thing, like Doug's mentioned. This is something hopefully that'll pay me back once we get around the corner of this thing. So that's kind of idea of something we're doing. But anyways, just thought I'd share.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for participating. So Jeff did I'll use Jeff's business again as an example. Jeff did our sound system in the gym, right? And like when they showed up and they're using their industry language of the different types of speakers and the receivers and all that sort of stuff, I have no clue what they're talking about, right? I have no clue. I trust them as the professional. A lot of times we're afraid, I feel as business owners, to educate our consumer too much that they feel like they're going to do it themselves, right? And I would say, generally speaking, it's the complete opposite. Like Chris can educate me till the cows come home about bookkeeping and payroll. I'm still gonna delegate that out, right? Jeff can tell me everything there is to know about speakers and audio systems and TVs that come out of walls and crap like that. But I'm still gonna call him when I want a TV that comes out of my wall, right? So I think just the understanding, but I'm going to call Jeff because he was the one that educated me. And so I'm a big proponent of content, and only because I think that when I say content, I mean whether it be in written form like a video, written form like a blog that Jeff was talking about, or posting on social media like a lot of you are doing, or video content. You become the industry expert. You become the industry expert, and so 85% of your customers, this is a digital marketing stat, 85% of your future customers don't want to buy right now. 85% of your future customers, meaning at some point they will be a customer of yours, are just not ready to buy right now. So I'll use Jeff. A TV coming out of my wall sounds super cool. I'm not going to spend that money right now. But if you educate me of how cool it is to have, I'm up here in my office in my kid's playroom, and you come tell me that, hey, it's super cool to have a TV come out of your wall. Well, when I'm ready to do that this fall, when cash flow is a little better, I'm going to call Jeff. So I think it's the idea of, and I'm being a little sarcastic here, but I think it's the idea of just like educating, becoming the industry expert and whatever. So if you're the realtor, you become the go-to realtor for looking for real estate information. If you're the jeweler, I want you to be doing videos and content and everything you can right now around jewelry, so that when I need a piece of jewelry, I'm gonna go to you. And then to Jeff's point on marketing, for what it's worth, marketing is all about ROI. So with marketing, return on investment. So with marketing, I speak a lot about the slot machine example. If I stick $1 into a slot machine and it guarantees me that it's going to spit out $2, how many will just sit there and do that all day long, right? That if you get marketing down is what marketing is. You have a, hopefully, and you can track this, a positive ROI. So you spend $1,000 on whatever the marketing is, and sometimes it doesn't work, but if it does work, if that gives you a $2,000 client, you just had a phenomenal ROI. So a lot of the marketing, especially in the digital landscape, it's very easy to track now as far as data goes on that marketing. So just looking at how much and I agree, it's hard to spend. I mean, we've still cut our marketing spend in half from what we usually spend on marketing, but we're still, because the cost per lead is still fairly low right now, we're still doing okay. So even though you might be gun shy to spend a little money on marketing right now, I would say the ROI is probably pretty good right now, whether it be in instant purchasing or, for a lot of us, more likely just that top of mind awareness when consumers are ready to buy again.
Okay.
Anything else, Laura?
No, I was going to say it's probably just about time that we should wrap up for the next group coming in, but I want to thank you all. Thank you, Doug, especially, and thank you, Danielle and Chris and Cindy, for sharing your time today. I know you're all still really busy, so I very much appreciate it. And again, we'll have another webinar tomorrow at 2 on